These are going to be notes about the sun. Make sure that you are following along and writing everything down. Just like the Earth, the sun has layers. We're going to start with the inner layer and go out. So our first layer is the core. It's the innermost part of the sun. It is 15 million degrees Celsius. It's extremely hot. This little core is what gives the sun its massive amounts of energy. Next is our radiation zone. The radiation zone is like a middle layer. It's tightly packed gas where energy is transferred. Next, we have the convection zone. This is technically our outermost layer, and we'll get to what that means in a minute. This is where gas from the core begins to cool down, causing movement on the sun's surface. The next three layers are part of our atmosphere on the sun. And yes, the sun does have an atmosphere. The photosphere is the most inner layer of the atmosphere. It gives off the sun's light. In the middle of the atmosphere's layers, we have the chromosphere. When the moon goes in front of the sun, this is the part that you see. So basically, when there's a solar eclipse, there's this kind of ring around the sun. You're seeing the chromosphere. The last layer of the atmosphere is the corona. No, not the coronavirus. The only thing we have to know about this layer is that it extends for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of miles. Last thing we want to talk about is what the sun's really made of. And then a little bit more about the things you'll find, a little bit more about the things you'll find on Earth's surface. So, it's made up of gases, mostly hydrogen. The other 25% is helium. We learned earlier, I believe last week, that the mass of the sun is so large that it takes up 99.8% of our solar system. There are two things that we see a lot of on the Earth's surface. The first we're going to talk about is sunspots. Sunspots are groups of gases on the sun's surface. Sunspots are groups of gases on the sun's surface that are cooler than other gases around them. So they tend to look just a little darker. And then solar flares, all the way over on our page. Solar flares are formed when loops in the sun's region connect and release energy, which causes them to sort of erupt. And you'll see more of that in our Ed puzzle. So the last thing we want to do is give you guys another model of what the sun's layers could look like. We'll start here and go all the way around. This is pointing to the solar flare. One thing we didn't talk about was the prominence. That's just this arch right here in a solar flare. Okay, when you are done, go on ahead, put this in your journal and start your Ed puzzle.